Thank you very much. I believe, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe I provided to the members, and I didn't realize we are going to have some other guests. I don't have quite as many, but I believe each member should have a packet there of the studies that I will be relying on. It'll help me to talk, it won't help me to talk any quicker, but it'll help me to cover a lot of ground more quickly and that I won't have to point to each one of these studies. I came to you today as for 6.5 years, I was United States Attorney for the District of South Carolina, and one of the things I'm most proud of is that I took an opportunity to solve some very complicated problems by taking a fresh look at them. One of the problems that began to come to my attention as United States Attorney was opioid. The opioid addiction, the opioid wave really hit while I was United States Attorney. And so we had to start taking, I began to take a look at what we could do to solve this problem. Okay, or certainly to alleviate the opioid addiction problem. Let me say one thing real quickly before I get started. When we start talking about drug diversion, as we have started to shut off the spigot of opioids, what we are seeing is that the Mexican cartels are having a field day and are supplanting that with heroin. That's why we've seen an opioid addiction become a heroin addiction. That's what's happened there. I am here today to talk to you about what I think that we can do to help to solve the opioid problem. Number one, let me say this. Teen use. There was a lot of talk from the people from Arizona about teen use, right? You're going to see in your packet a study by the Cato Institute. We're going to talk more about that later, and Health and Human Services. What you can see from as has been said, 68% of Americans have access to medical marijuana. What we can tell from those states, and the data shows, is there's no increase in teen use in states that have medical marijuana, period. There are horror stories of teens using marijuana, but it's illegal for teens to use marijuana. But to tie any increase, there is no increase. There's no data to support any increase in teen use to the implementation of medical marijuana. That's a fact. Cato Institute, Health and Human Services. Second thing that's often discussed is that marijuana is a gateway drug. The American Journal of Psychiatry and the Drug Policy Research Center both have done studies on that. It is not a gateway drug. The facts do not support that, and anyone who says otherwise is talking contrary to facts. I know y'all heard in y'all's last hearing about the National Academy of Medicine, which has found that there is substantial evidence that medical marijuana can be used to treat a host of illnesses, not least of which is chronic pain. Now, we get to the opioid problem. Just let me say this. The National Bureau of Economic Research said drug overdoses are the leading cause of death from injuries in the United States today, exceeding death from suicide, gun deaths, and motor vehicle accidents. In 2010, 16,651 deaths were caused by prescription opioid overdose, resulting in nearly 60% of all drug overdose deaths and exceeding overdose deaths from heroin and cocaine combined. That's the American Medical Association talks about that. Now, back to the Cato Institute. Let's talk about what the Cato Institute is, okay? People that want to talk about being conservatives, the Cato Institute was the leading research institute founded by two brothers called the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers are who fund the Cato Institute. I would like for you to, if you don't read any other folder that I've given you, the Cato Institute did common myths about marijuana legalization. And it addresses the data that addresses a lot of the issues that have been brought up here today. One of the main things is this. If you look at, I believe it's the third study in there, when you legalize marijuana, nothing changes. Yeah, medical marijuana. By that I mean the Cato Institute, the Koch brothers say, their research foundation says there's no increase in traffic deaths as a result of medical marijuana. There's no increase in teen use as a result of medical marijuana. And what we do find is a 30% reduction in opioid overdoses. That means 30% less people die in states that have medical marijuana from drug overdose than states that don't. So the reason that I feel so strongly about this is I believe that the opioid addiction problem that South Carolina, we are at We haven't seen the peak on that yet. And that this is simply facts. These are facts that the Cato Institute has provided to us, that medical marijuana can save lots and lots of lives. That is all I've got.